Suspense.
Tonight's Suspense brings you an all-star cast of Hollywood's finest radio players in the premiere of a remarkable story by Ray Bradbury called Riabouchinska.
But first, we'd like to remind you that in hotels, restaurants, and homes of distinction, wherever hospitality is a gracious art, the knowing host serves Cresta, Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Cresta Blanca. Yes, the famous name of Cresta Blanca is a symbol of good taste and good living wherever discriminating people gather. And when you serve proud Cresta Blanca California wines, you pay guests the highest compliment a host can offer. So, distinguish your table by pouring Cresta Blanca Burgundy or Cresta Blanca Sauterne. Yours to enjoy for gracious dining. Shenley's Cresta Blanca Wine Company, Livermore, California.
And now, Shenley brings you radio's outstanding theater of thrill,
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines of Fresno, California, for your everyday enjoyment. Tonight, starring Joseph Kearns, Lorene Tuttle, Wally Mayer, and Armina Pagay in Riabouchinska, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Shenley by William Spear.
Mr. Ockham had a look about him in death as he had had in life. A general appearance which might prompt one to say, there's a man who will one day be stabbed, or shot, or booted in the head. And although Mr. Ockham had not met his end in any of the aforementioned ways, he had been strangled, and he was dead. Dead on the floor of a theater cellar. Yes, Mr. Ockham was deceived, and nobody seemed to care. Nobody but Detective Lieutenant Krovich, who'd been sent down to have a look around. On a table he saw a small, polished bronze box with certain words on the lid which read, Riabouchinska, property of John Fabian, world's greatest ventriloquist. Krovich looked from the box to the three figures standing stiffly before him. They were John Fabian, ventriloquist, Alice, his wife, and Bernard Douglas, Fabian's press agent. As Krovich lit his cigar, it happened.
Please let me out. Oh, please let me out.
The four people looked with startled eyes at the box on the table. Then Fabian, the ventriloquist, stepped forward and spoke earnestly.
No, Rhea. This is serious business, darling. You stay where you are.
Please don't run. You should be kind to me now after what's happened.
If you don't mind, Fabian, we'll have the dummy act at another time. Now let's get this matter clear. Each of you testify that you don't know who this dead Mr. Ockham is, yet he told the stage manager tonight that he knew Mr. Fabian and wanted to see him about something important. Oh, stop it, Fabian.
Pay no attention to her, Lieutenant.
Her? You mean you? What is this? Get together, you two.
We'll never be together again. Never again after tonight.
Give me the key to the box, Fabian.
Thank you.
Krovich stood motionless, just looking down, seeing Riabouchinska lying in her box and not believing what he saw. He thought, there were nights in life when you dreamed, and this is what you dreamed. There were women you saw in life, far down the street, walking, fragile, far away, unattainable, and this tiny figure was one of them. There were voices that you heard singing high in a dark church loft, voices that made the candle flames shudder and dance to every cadence. And this was one of those voices. On a summer afternoon, you watched a spider gracefully spinning its cloudy web. And now, that web was Riabouchinska's evening dress, here and now. You had heard of honesty and intelligence and frankness and unafraidness all your life. And now, it looked straight up at you, fearlessly, shiningly, from a puppet's eye. She was so beautiful your throat closed and you were sad, because you knew that she was only a puppet. John Fabian tenderly picked up Riabouchinska.
Oh, isn't she beautiful? She's carved from the finest wood, Riabouchinska is. She's appeared in London, Paris, Rome, New York. Everyone in the world knows her and loves her. Many people question Riabouchinska's authenticity. They think she's really alive, that she's a midget. People just cannot believe she's constructed of wood.
John Fabian's wife, Alice, stood glaring at her husband with a look of pure hatred. But he was aware of no one but the lifelike figure he held in his arms. And speaking to him, it said,
Please don't go on about me, John. Alice doesn't like it.
Alice has never liked anything about you, Ria.
Not here and not now, John. Tell me, Lieutenant, how did it all happen? I mean, about poor Mr. Ockham.
What is this?
You'd best return to your box, Riabouchinska.
But I don't want to. I have as much right to listen and talk. I'm as much a part of this murder as Alice. Or Mr. Douglas.
Don't drag me into this, you little witch.
And the manner in which he replied made it obvious that Riabouchinska was more than an illusion to him, for he reacted to her as to a real person.
It's just that I want the truth to be told. And if I'm locked in my bronze casket, there will be no truth. For John Fabian is a consummate liar, and I must watch him. That's right, isn't it, John?
Yes, I imagine it is.
John loves me best of all the women in the world. And I love him. And try to understand his wrong way of thinking.
We're wasting time. If you think you'll interfere with my investigation, Fabian...
Lieutenant, I am helpless.
But she's in your throat.
No, she is in my heart, which is much deeper. Sometimes I'm powerless. Sometimes she is only herself, nothing of me at all. Sometimes she tells me what to do, and I must do it. She watches over me, reprimands me, is honest where I am dishonest, ethical where I am wicked as old sin. She lives her life, I live mine. She's raised a wall in my head between herself and me, and she lives there, ignoring me if I try to make her say improper things, but cooperating if I suggest the correct words and pantomime. So, if you intend going on, I'm afraid Ria must be present. No, locking her up will do no good.
Lieutenant Krovich sat quietly for a few moments. Then he seemed to make a decision.
All right. Let us stay. Maybe before the night's over, I'll be tired enough to ask even a ventriloquist dummy questions.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Riabouchinska. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, selected from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. Some hosts have a way of making you feel completely welcome whenever you drop in for a visit. Theirs is the kind of hospitality that says, come in and make yourself at home. Well, such is the hospitality of millions of Americans who always keep Roma California wines on hand. For Roma wines lend sparkle and companionship to any occasion. And there's a Roma wine to please every taste. For friendly entertaining, serve nut-like golden amber Roma sherry, rich red Roma port, or mellow flame-bright Roma muscatel. You'll find that these better tasting Roma wines add warmth and charm to any get-together, brighten those restful stay-at-home evenings with your family. Tomorrow, solve your problem of what to serve when friends drop in with Roma wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Ermina Feige as narrator, Joseph Kearns as Fabian, the ventriloquist, and Wally Mayer as Detective Krovich in Riabouchinska, A play well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Once more, Mr. Douglas, do you recognize the dead man?
No. He looks somewhat familiar. An actor type, I believe.
One of you three is lying. From the condition of Occam's shoes, his worn clothing, he needed money. Are you in love with Mrs. Fabian?
Why,
Really, Lieutenant?
I've been watching you, your actions.
My actions?
Yes. The way you look at Riabouchinska's box, the way you hold your breath when she appears, the way you knot your fingers when she talks, the way you stare at her.
If you think for one moment that I'm jealous of a little piece of wood...
Aren't you?
No, I'm not jealous of her.
You needn't tell him, Alice.
Let her.
They all stared at the figurine, even Fabian, the ventriloquist, as if her cry had come from an alien throat.
Alice, tell them. I married John 7 years ago. He said he loved me. I loved him and I loved Riabouchinska, too. At first, anyway. But then I began to see that he really paid more attention to her than he did to me. I began to feel hatred. Not for Riabouchinska, because it wasn't her fault. But I felt a terrible hatred for John. Because I knew it was all his fault. His cleverness, his sadistic temperament. Each jealousy on my part was a tribute to the perfection of his art. She came out of him like a woman out of a dark god. But I don't hate Rhea. She's lovely, sweet and honest. Everything that John isn't. Tell about Mr. Douglas.
When I got no understanding, no love from John, I turned to Mr. Douglas.
Uh-huh. The dead man was a blackmailer. He came to the theater tonight to see your husband about you. You killed him to prevent that interview.
I didn't kill him.
Douglas might have and not told you.
Why kill a man? John knew all about it.
I did indeed.
The next day, Lieutenant Krovich was back.
Yes, come in.
Ah, Fabian, I have something here which might interest you.
With a tight grin in his face, Lieutenant Krovich held out the photograph of a woman. Fabian stared at the shiny picture before him, and then he fell back in his chair. He shut his eyes as if with a great ache in his head. Krovich turned the picture over carefully and began to read from the typewritten data on the back.
Name, Ilya Riamansk. Weight 100 pounds, blue eyes, black hair, oval face. Born 1914, New York City. Disappeared 1934. Believed a victim of amnesia, of Russian Slav parentage.
Oh, no.
You know, Fabian, it was pretty silly to go through the files for a picture of a ventriloquist dummy. They all laughed at headquarters. And yet, here she is, Riabouchinska. Not papier-mâché, not wood, not a puppet. But a woman who once lived and moved about and disappeared. Take it from there, Fabian.
Well, Lieutenant, there's nothing to it. I saw her picture long ago. Liked her looks and copied my puppet after her.
Nothing to it, huh? Listen, Fabian, this morning I went through a stack of Billboard magazines that high. In the year 1934, I found an interesting article concerning an act playing the smaller circuits, known as Fabian and Sweet William. Sweet William was a little male dummy. As usual in such acts, there was a girl assistant, Ilya Riamansk. Look at that picture. The resemblance between the real woman on one hand and Riabouchinska, the puppet, on the other, is startling.
She was my assistant, but that was all. I simply used her as a model.
It all starts and ends with Riabouchinska. Why should you love a puppet so intensely? Because you love the original woman intensely.
All right. In 1934, I was billed as Fabian and Sweet William. Sweet William was a small, bulb-nosed little boy dummy I carved years ago. I was playing Los Angeles when this girl, Ilya Riamansk, appeared at the stage door one night. She wanted a job. I remember. It was autumn.
John Fabian remembered Ilya Remenant in the half-light at the stage alley. He remembered how startled he was at her fresh beauty, her eagerness, the way the rain, when it came down through the narrow alley, caught in her dark hair and touched her feverish cheeks. She became his assistant, worked in the act, and in 4 short months, he who had always denied and scoffed at love became hopelessly loved with this woman. Then there were arguments, and things much more than arguments. Things done and said that were violent and unfair. He wanted her to marry him. She never quite accepted. He went into hysterical rages at her. Once he destroyed her wardrobe. That much she had taken. But it was somewhat different on that last night when he had shouted at her, taken hold of her, and slapped her brutally 3 times across the face.
And Ilya Riabouchinska vanished that night. Vanished. The police questioned me. There was talk of murder, but she was gone with no trace. A record of her was sent to all the larger cities. That was the end of it for the police. But not for me. The knowledge of her going was too much. She might be dead or just run away, but wherever she was, I knew I needed her. One night I returned home more depressed than usual. I collapsed on a chair. And before I knew it, I found myself speaking to Sweet William in the totally dark room. William. Oh, this is all over and done. I can't go on.
Coward, you can get her back if you want.
No, I can't. No, I can never get her back.
Yes, you can. Think of a way to get her back. Think of a way. Come on, you can do it. Put me away. Start all over.
Start all over?
Yes. Begin carving. Exactly. And slowly and lovingly. Carving. Make the little arching nostrils just so. And cut her black, thin eyebrows round and high. And make her cheeks in small duplicate hollows. And...
No. It's monstrous. I can never do it.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
And the voice faded away like a water ripple in a dark cave. Blackness rushed over Fabian. His head fell forward. He whimpered. And Sweet William sighed. And then they both lay silent and solemnly unconscious. The next morning, John Fabian purchased the best grained piece of wood he could buy. But when he reached home, despair seized him. How could he fashion his warm Ilya from this cold wood? How could he shape this dumb block of dead substance into anything faintly approximating her glowing light?
Go on.
It was Sweet William who egged him on.
You can do it.
And for 20 weeks he worked. He carved her hands into things as natural and beautiful as shells lying in the sun. And Sweet William lay dust-cloaked in his box, from time to time feebly croaking some sarcasm, some criticism, some hint, some help. But he was dying, soon to be untouched, inanimate wood. As weeks passed and Fabian molded and scraped and polished the new wood, Sweet William lay longer and longer in stricken silence. And one day, as Fabian held the puppet in his hand, Sweet William seemed to look at him a moment with puzzled eyes. And then there was a death rattle in his throat. And Sweet William was gone. And now, as Fabian carved, a fluttering, an attempting of speech in his throat began echoing, re-echoing the sounds of Ilya Remenant. At the year's ending, he was thinned and without money. But by then he had searched his stream of consciousness, experimented, and given the doll all the gracious mannerisms and shy gestures of the real woman. And then, at last, he held Ilya Riabouchinska in his arms again. They were together. He could talk to her and she could reply. And the first thing he made the little creature say was,
I love you, John Fabian.
Oh, Ria.
I see. And your wife?
Alice. She was another of my assistants. She did her work well. She loved me. I don't know why I married her.
I see. What about the dead man, Arkham?
I'd never seen him before until you showed me his body in the cellar.
That's not true. Don't lie, John Fabian.
Fabian's cheeks drained white and the bones jutted out tensely. The puppet spoke, looking straight at Krovich.
John received the first blackmail letter a month ago. It said simply, Riabouchinska, born 1914, died 1934. Born again in 1930...
Fabian seemed paralyzed, unable to answer. He had a trapped, helpless, insane expression. His lips trembled. He searched the room as if seeking some way out where a frustration and a truth did not wait to bar his way.
Arkham threatened to expose me to the world.
Go on.
I wanted my love for Ilya kept to myself. What sort of a love would it be in the future if people really guessed the significance of my carving this figurine that talked and moved? People would laugh or be disgusted. Perverted, criminal mind, they'd shout. Ugly, horrible, revolting. And how could I play my love scenes with Ria anymore when they knew? Not when with every word I uttered, someone in the audience would nudge someone else and whisper, she lived once, you know, but disappeared. They say he killed her. They say he loved her.
How much did Arkham want?
$1,000 to start with. And more later.
And so you killed him?
No, I didn't kill Arkham, Lieutenant. I paid him $1,000.
We found no money on him.
Nevertheless, I paid him. Alice and Douglas must have heard our conversation. They've wanted to be rid of me for years now. I'm not blind. Alice saw a way of ridding herself of me and getting some money, too. Why, she's nothing but a...
Just a moment. There's something I wish to say. And yet I can't say it.
Krovich turned. He saw John Fabian's eyes widen in his head, as if a terrible conflict were raging, fighting within. His throat convulsed again and again, and lines cut deep in his cheeks, and the hollows of his face sank in.
I was in the room when Mr. Arkham came.
No, Ria.
I lay in my bunk, and I listened, and I heard, and I know.
No.
Mr. Arkham threatened to destroy me, tear me up, burn me into ashes, if John didn't pay him $1,000.
And then, suddenly,
there came a falling sound. Mr. Arkham's head must have struck the floor. I heard Mr. Fabian cry out, swearing and sobbing all in one. I heard a hissing, gasping, choking, horrible sound.
You heard nothing. You're deaf and dumb and blind and lifeless. You heard nothing. Your ears are calm.
But they hear. And then the hissing, choking sound stopped. I heard John drag Mr. Arkham to the door, open it, and take Mr. Arkham down the stairs, under the theater, toward the old dressing room that hadn't been used in years. Down they took the body.
it was a scene so incongruous, so impossible, so completely beyond the veil of sanity and reason that Krovich recoiled even as he watched. If ever in the time of the world the forces that manipulate men struggled one side against the other, this was the time. The shocked, pallid face of John Fabian wrenching, the horrible protrusion of the eyes, the clenching of the teeth as a censor, then relaxing again, the subtle move of the throat, and the high, sad, and accusative voice of Riabouchinska leaping from her tiny, shining lips. Fabian must have known what was happening, and yet he did not know.
I'm not made to live this way. There's nothing for us now, anyway. 'cause the world will know of us. Even when you killed him and I lay in my bronze box last night, I realized, we both realized that these were our last hours. Because while I've accepted your weaknesses and lies, I can't exist in murder. It couldn't have gone on. No one can live side by side with such knowledge.
Fabian took her in his arms and held her high into the warm sunlight. She looked down at him with her clear, honest way of seeing him. There were angry, helpless tears in his eyes. His hand shook, and in shaking made her tremble too. Her mouth closed and open, silent, gaping and shutting again and again with no words. Fabian began to sob. He closed his fingers unbelievingly around his own throat. His eyes numbed. He looked like a man trying to remember something beautiful. Her voice, how it sounded, how to make it sound again. How to make her take back all she had said that was the truth.
Oh, she's gone. She's gone. And I can't find her. I tried, but I can't find her. She's run off behind the dark wall. And so deep down and far away in the night, I'll never be able to find her again. Yes, she's gone.
Riabouchinska slipped bonelessly from his limp hand, folded over and glided noiselessly down to lie upon the cold, dirty floor. Her eyes closed, her mouth gently sealed. Fabian didn't even look at her as Krovich led him away.
Suspense. And so closes Riabouchinska, starring Armana Paiguet as narrator, Joseph Kearns as Fabian, Wally Mayer as Krovich, and Lorene Tuttle as Rhea. Tonight's study in suspense. Presented by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, America's largest selling wines. Yes, more Americans do enjoy Roma wines than any other wines. And this is Truman Bradley to tell you why. It's because Roma wines taste better. You see, Roma selects and presses only the choicest California grapes. Then, with ancient skills and unmatched wine-making resources, Roma master vintners guide this luscious grape treasure unhurriedly to tempting perfection. These finer Roma wines are placed with other mellow Roma wines to await later selection for your enjoyment from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. This weekend, give your family and friends a surprise. Serve delicious Roma California Sherry. Roma Sherry is a glorious gold and amber wine, soft and mellow on the tongue, with a delightful nut-like taste that's a perfect invitation to dining pleasure. And remember to insist on Roma. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Sherry, because more Americans enjoy Roma wines than any other wines.
Tonight's suspense radio play was by Mel Donnelly from a short story by Ray Bradbury. Be sure to listen next Thursday, same time, to Suspense. Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California.
Suspense. Tonight, as we open a special limited series of 5 Friday night performances at this hour, Suspense brings you an incomparable study in terror. It is Edgar Allan Poe's The Pit and the Pendulum, in a new setting as a radio play especially written for Suspense by a contemporary master of the art, John Dixon Carr. As star this evening, we bring you a noted actor of the New York stage, Mr. Jose Ferrer. And as usual, Suspense is produced, edited, and directed by William Spear.
Sick unto death with that long agony. And when at length they unbound me and I was permitted to sit, I felt my senses were leaving me. The sound of the inquisitorial voices seemed merged into one dreamy, indeterminate hum. Yet, for a while I saw, but with how terrible an exaggeration, I saw the soft and nearly imperceptible waving of the sable draperies on the walls of the room. I saw the flames of the 7 tall candles which burned on the table. I saw the lips of the black-robed judges, and these lips appeared to me white as paper, white as horror. I saw them writhe with a deadly locution. I saw them fashion the syllables of my name.
Jean d'Albret. Captain Jean d'Albret.
Good fathers, gentlemen.
We hear you, my son.
I am very weak and infirm. I have been confined for many months in a dungeon. I have been tormented by nightmares.
Conscience, one trust.
Pray silence, Fra Antonio.
Even now I have no knowledge of where I am or to whom I may be speaking.
You're speaking to me, my son. I am Fra Pedro de Spidia, Friar of the Dominicans of Segovia, and Grand Inquisitor for all Spain.
Is this the court of the Inquisition?
It is.
Then God help me.
He will help you, my son, if you trust him.
But I am a French officer.
That is true, a soldier and creature of the archfiend Napoleon Bonaparte.
But a French officer nonetheless, a prisoner of war. By what right do you try me in this court?
Let the clerk read the charges against this prisoner. Pray silence while the clerk reads the charges.
The charges against the prisoner are as follows. Imprimis, that he is one Jean d'Albret, a captain of artillery in the army of Bonaparte, so-called Emperor of the French.
This means nothing. As the prisoner says, it is no crime. Proceed.
Item, that on the 4th day of September, in the year of our Lord 1808, the said Jean d'Albret did wed, espouse, and marry that most noble lady, the Donna Beatrice Valdez, niece and ward of the illustrious...
One moment.
Your Excellency spoke.
Fra Antonio, was any cheat employed to trap this girl into marriage against her will?
No, we have no actual evidence of any cheat.
Was the girl of age?
I believe so.
Then wherefore is the prisoner here? This marriage was a deplorable thing, if you like. Bonaparte himself is almost at the gates of Madrid. His General Lasalle menaces our city of Toledo itself, but lawful marriage, however regrettable, is no sin or crime.
There are other matters in the indictment, I think.
Then continue, but give us nothing that is not material.
Item, that on the 12th of October, 1808, the said Jean d'Albret, being in command of a 5-gun battery of light artillery, did direct the fire of his guns against the holy church of St. Martha the Innocent, and thereby of his wicked malice destroyed that church utterly.
Captain d'Albret, is this charge true?
Yes.
You admit it.
Good father, hear what I have to say. If you recall, the church blew up.
Would you boast of your sin, young man?
It blew up because it was stored with kegs of gunpowder for your army. I had every right to fire on it.
And that is all the defense you have to make.
I tell you, I had every right to fire on it. By military law...
Is military law above God's law?
I don't know. I did my duty. Long live the Emperor.
Captain d'Albret, hear the sentence of this court.
Must I stand up to hear it? I am very weak.
No, you may remain seated.
I thank you most humbly.
Had your offense been any except this, the Holy Office would have been merciful. Mark what I say. No man, however great his heresy, is ever condemned to be burnt in the fire.
Fire! Fire!
Fire! Fire! If he first recant and acknowledge the error of his ways. But for you, Jean d'Albret, it means mercy, no pity. The only sentence of this court can be...
Death! Death! Death!
The secular government arm to which we must release you has devised two ways of punishment in cases such as yours. You hear the tolling of bells?
I hear them.
It is the procession of the condemned going to the auto da fe.
Soon the yellow light of the flames will stream through the windows
and flicker on floor and ceiling.
Nunc et in hora mortis intuis manibus, Domine, in
Most
nomine
of those
Patri,
condemned,
Filii,
out of mercy, will be strangled before they are burned. It cannot be so with you, Jean d'Albret. You must die in one of two ways. Either with the direst of physical agony.
A slow fire of green wood. Ice bandages about the head and heart so that the fire does not approach too quickly. Not
Be silent, Fra Antonio.
I cry your pardon, Grand Inquisitor.
Or else, Jean d'Albret, you must die in a certain other way.
I'm done with this. Pass your sentence and let me go.
The law does not permit me to tell you now what this other way is. It must approach you slowly and force itself into your mind. It must stalk you like a tiger. It must bring you face to face at last with the King of Terrors. The sentence of this court.
I had swooned, yet still I will not say that all of consciousness was lost. There are shadows of memory which tell me indistinctly of tall figures that lifted me and bore me in silence down, still down, until a hideous dizziness oppressed me at that descent into the earth. There was a vague horror at my heart because of that heart's unnatural stillness. Then consciousness swam back to my wits again. Darkness. Stone floor and darkness. Oh, Beatrice. Oh, my wife.
Did you call me, Jean?
Beatrice. Was it you who spoke?
Yes, Jean.
You here in the dungeons of the Inquisition?
I am not really speaking to you, my poor Jean. I am only in your imagination.
Am I mad, then?
No, but your brain is fevered. You only think you hear me.
I hear you clearly, as clearly as I once heard you.
In the little church near the Ebro, where we were married.
Yes. I destroyed that church, Beatrice. I had to. It was my commanding officer's order.
I know, Jean. Be comforted. There are those who care.
You won't leave me?
As long as I am in your heart, I shall be here.
I was strong once, but now I am weak. Once I was reckless, but now I'm afraid. Where am I, Beatrice? What are they going to do to me?
I cannot tell. Remember, my voice comes only from your own brain. Are you fettered?
No.
They have not chained you to the wall?
No. They've taken away my uniform. They've given me sandals and a robe of what feels like coarse serge. But I'm still free. Free.
Take courage, Jean.
Free and in the grasp of the Inquisition. Beatrice.
Yes, Jean.
It is completely dark. There's hardly any air. I dread to get up, and I dread to stretch out my hand. Suppose they've burnt me alive.
Courage. Can you stand up?
I think so.
Then walk. Walk as far as you can. Measure the limits of the cell. If this is not a tomb...
You're right, Beatrice. As always. I'll try.
Courage.
Yes, courage. Now pray for a poor devil who always meant well. 1 pace. 2, 3, 4.
You are very weak, Jean. Rest a moment.
Yes. Where are you now, Beatrice? In the flesh, I mean.
You know that, Jean. In the old house by the olive grove. Scorned of my people.
Yes, I know it.
Each morning, I climb to the hilltop and watch.
Go on.
Sometimes I think I hear gun wheels rumble in the hills and long moving columns with the red dust rising about them.
Go on.
First come the heavy cavalry in plume-crested helmets, on their flanks wheeling like hawks, light hussars in blue and scarlet, and behind them in a glitter of bayonets as vast as light points on the sea, rank upon rank, the long gray coats and tall bearskin caps of
the Old Guard and the Grand Army.
It is only a vision, my dear one. They do not come.
Will they ever come, Beatrice?
I cannot tell.
Then I must face what has been prepared for me. Beatrice.
Yes, Jean.
I tried to walk. I took some steps.
4 steps, yes.
In which direction? I can remember.
Are you facing the same way?
I don't know. Perhaps.
Then walk again. Try. Keep your hand in front of you.
Yes. This robe impedes me, and the floor is treacherous with slime. But I'll try. 4 paces. 5, 6, 7.
It can't be a tomb.
9, 10.
Look out!
I'm all right. I fell. The rope tripped me. But
what is it?
my hand is in front of me, lower than my face. But I feel nothing.
Nothing, Jean?
It's a pit, a circular pit. And I fell on the very edge of it.
It would have made you walk into it.
Yes. There's a loose fragment of rock just inside the edge. If I can dislodge it. Listen.
Water.
There's something down there.
Rats, it may be.
Rats, yes. But something else. I heard it move.
So do I.
Accident saved me. They would have had me plunged there symbolically like the descent of the soul to keep company with something else. And quick death forms no part of their plan.
What is in the pit, Jean?
I can't say.
But you're saved.
Saved, Beatrice. Saved from the Inquisition. My torture has been merely postponed. Sleep like that of death. How long it lasted, I know not. But when I opened my eyes once again, I could see. Yes, see. My prison was large and lofty, its walls formed of massive iron plates bolted or joined together. A wild sulphurous luster, I could not trace its origin, lit up the dungeon. And the circular pit, and the crudely daubed skeleton figures painted in evil colors on the iron walls. Skeleton figures, demon figures, gargoyle figures, their colors a little blurred, as from the effects of the damp. And I...
It must approach you slowly and force itself into your mind. It must stalk you like a tiger. It must bring you face to face at last with the king of terror.
I now lay on my back, and at full length, and on a low framework of wood. To this framework I was securely bound by a long fastening resembling a surgical bandage. Bound? But why? Why? The bandage passed round and round my body, leaving at liberty only my head and my left arm. With much exertion, I could supply myself with food from an earthen dish on the floor beside me. It was meat, highly seasoned, and there was no water. Beatrice, where are you?
I am here, Jean, as always.
Your voice sounds stronger.
Does it, Jean?
Well, I can see you now. I can see you as clearly as I saw you months ago.
Oh, I wish it were true.
Your bonnet and the parasol you carried in summer, and the high-waisted blue dress.
You are weaker, my dear, and more fevered.
Have I been asleep?
Yes, Jean.
They must have been here while I slept. They have bound me. Why? Stop those voices! Stop them!
Mine too, Jean. I am not here either, you know. Don't drive me away.
Beatrice, look!
Where?
At the ceiling of this room, 30, 40 feet up. What do you see?
Painted on the ceiling, a figure of Father Time.
Anything else?
But Father Time carries no scythe. He carries instead what looks like a gigantic pendulum from an ancient clock.
About one thing, I swear I'm in my right senses. I saw that pendulum move.
Painting cannot move.
Yet I saw the pendulum did. It swung a little, back and forth, just like a real pendulum.
Try not to trouble your brain.
Father Time is not like those other paintings daubed on the walls, the imps and devils and skeletons. That pendulum is real. Beatrice, take care.
Take care of what? You are not looking at the pendulum now.
Take care of the rats. The rats from the pit.
I see them.
They're swarming out in dozens. You can see their glitter. One of them ran across the hem of your dress.
Did it, Jean?
What do they want?
They have caught the scent of the meat in the dish beside you.
You'll not get it. Go away, you vermin.
Hold your hand above the plate, Jean. Move.
Beatrice, where are you going? I can hardly hear you.
You are sending me away, Jean.
I'm sending you away?
My poor loved one. You can't bear to see the rats running about my feet, can you? Even when you know I'm not here.
Beatrice!
It is true, Jean. You are sending me.
Yes, it's true. Go! In a cell swarming with vermin, there are others I had rather see here. I had rather see...
Did you call me, Captain Dalbray? Then in spirit I am here.
Who are you?
Don't you recognize me?
No.
I am that second Inquisitor, Fra Antonio, whom you thought unfair at your trial. But we were not unfair. We administer the law, that is all.
Go, I command you, go!
Not until I have first told you what you already guess.
Which is?
As the Grand Inquisitor said, there are two forms of death for such as you. One, death with its direct physical torture. The other, death with its direct mental torture.
And I have been condemned to the second.
Your guess is good. Listen. Do you hear anything?
Yes. I hear something.
Turn your eyes upwards. Look at the ceiling.
Oh, the pendulum.
Aye, the pendulum.
It has descended.
Only a foot or so as yet. As you notice, it is not really a pendulum.
No?
No. Its underside is a crescent, formed of razor-sharp steel.
Ah!
A ponderous weight, Captain Dalbray. Its movement is slow now. Soon it will take on momentum. It will swing wider and wider. 30 feet, perhaps. Presently, as it swings, you will hear it hiss. And with each broad movement, it will creep a trifle lower.
The steel is directly above me.
Yes, above the region of your heart. Lie still and look up at it.
How long before?
You need have no immediate fear. It will not be too soon.
But how soon? In the name of pity, give me some answer.
Hours, perhaps days. Its motion can be arrested while you sleep. And now, Captain Dalbray, still in spirit, I leave you to your meditation.
Minutes, hours, days. Down, steadily down it crept. Days passed, it might have been many days, before it swept so closely as to fan me with its acrid breath. The odor of the sharp steel forced itself into my nostrils. To the right, to the left, far, wide, the shriek of a damned spirit. To my heart, with the stealthy pace of a tiger. Down, certainly relentlessly down. I prayed. I wearied heaven with my prayer for its more speedy descent. I grew frantically mad and struggled to force myself up against that swinging, glittering death. Of no avail. Down, still unceasingly down, still inevitably down. The sharp steel flashed past within 3 inches of my chest. And then, only then...
I heard you calling, Jean. I am here.
It is a strange thing, Beatrice. I am quite calm.
You are resigned, then?
No, that is the strange thing. Even now, I am not resigned.
Is there a way out?
How can there be? 10, 12 more vibrations and it will fray the serge of my robe. One slightly as a razor in a delicate hand. There will be many sweeps before it bites deep. I can't escape it. And yet... If I could only use my wits.
You kept me away from you, Jean. You locked me out of your thoughts. If I am here only in your thoughts, why should I fear the rats?
The rats? Rats? Do they still swarm here?
Across the floor and over the meat ladder, they have taken nearly all your food.
Yes, they are ravenous. And they have sharp teeth.
Well...
The meat is oily and spiced. If I take what remains of it, scatter you vermin, and rub that meat on the bandages that hold me here.
Try it, Jean, try.
It may be too late. If I move my body a fraction of an inch up.
Try it, I tell you, try.
Look, they scatter as soon as I do try.
But they are watching you. I can see their eyes glitter. They are creeping back.
Can I stand those rats crawling across me? Can the flesh bear it?
One of them has leaped on the wooden framework. Another follows. They are gnawing at the bandage.
7, 8 more sweeps of the pendulum.
Does the bandage give way?
A little.
Lie still, Jean, lie still.
10, a dozen rats gnaw. Is death, I wonder, worse than this disgust?
A dozen sharp knives could do no better. The bandage is loosened to ribbons. If you move sideways, carefully, and drop to the floor.
Beatrice, I can't. I haven't the strength.
The steel has sprayed your robe. A minute more will be too late. Try!
And with all the power that is in me, and the hatred that I bear my enemies... A second time.
See, Jean. The pendulum stops. They are drawing it back up through the roof.
Each move I make is watched. You never doubted that.
No. Yet with all they could do to you, they have failed twice.
They will not fail a third time, my dear. There must be no more dallying with the king of terrors.
What else can they do?
I can't say. See how the rats gnaw in silence at that bandage. To what food, I wonder, have they been accustomed in the pit?
But you escaped the pit.
I escaped it once. Listen.
What do you hear?
Groaning, a grinding as of metal.
It was only the cogwheels of the pendulum knife.
I think not, Beatrice.
Why not?
It seemed to come from behind these iron-plated walls. It seemed to shake the dungeon as a mill wheel might shake it.
Stand up, my poor Jean. Get up off your knees.
I can't, Beatrice. I can't endure any more.
The paintings on the wall of this dungeon. The skeletons and imps and devils. They seem different.
They are different.
The colors sharpen, grow bright. The demon's eyes glare. The skeleton, hands outstretched. Don't you catch even yet the odor of heated iron?
Heated iron!
I've been much humbled, but I won't have you see me in tears. I order you to go.
John, in the name of heaven.
Yes, in the name of heaven. Go! Suffocating heat pervades the prison. A deeper glow settles in the painted eyes that glare at me. I could draw no breath of air into my lungs. Against the loom of that fiery destruction, the thought of the pit and its coolness came like balm. I stagger to the edge of the pit. I look into it. The enkindled walls and roof lighted to its depths. Yet for one wild moment, even then, I refuse to believe the meaning of what I see.
Does the pit please you, Captain Dalbray?
You again.
Do you find its contents pleasing?
Not the pit. Merciful God, anything but the pit.
And how shall you avoid it? Look!
This dungeon has changed its shape.
That is true. The walls are closing in. It was formerly a square, and now
flattening slowly towards the center. To force me into the pit?
Of course.
It will force you along with me.
Then apparently you must be told, Captain Dalbray, that you are speaking only to your own sick fancy.
No.
We are not here at all.
No.
Farewell.
No. But now, flatter and flatter through the red-burning walls, with a swiftness that left me no time for thought, I shrank back, but as the closing walls pressed me resistlessly onward, at length, for my seared and writhing body, there was no longer an inch of foothold. I screamed once. I tottered on the edge of the pit. I averted my eyes. There was a discordant hum of human voices. There was a loud blast, as of many trumpets. The fiery walls rushed back. An outstretched arm caught my own as I fell fainting into the abyss. It was the arm of General LaSalle. The French army had entered Toledo. The Inquisition was in the hands of its enemies.
Suspense. Produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Tonight you heard Mr. Jose Ferrer as star of The Pit and the Pendulum. First in a limited series of 5 Friday night performances at this hour, which will present radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight's radio play was adapted by John Dixon Carr from the famous short story by Edgar Allan Poe.
Jose Ferrer will soon be seen with Ingrid Bergman in Joan of Lorraine. Appearing tonight with Mr. Ferrer were Jeanette Nolan, John McIntyre, Elliot Lewis, Joseph Kearns, Eric Snowden, and Paul McVeigh. Music for Suspense is under the direction of Lud Gluskin, with original music composed by Lucien Morawek.
Next Friday, same time, we will again bring you Suspense.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense. Produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. This is the second in a special limited series of 5 Friday night performances of Suspense at this hour. Suspense is compounded of mystery and suspicion and dangerous adventure. In this series are stories calculated to intrigue you, to stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. Tonight from Hollywood, we bring you Mr. Jackie Cooper as star in The Clock and the Rope, a radio play by Lewis Pollock. We trust that with this tale, we shall once again keep you in suspense.
Would you like to hear the old story about the innocent man facing execution and his last-minute attempts to get a pardon and how it feels when he doesn't get it? Well, I can tell you all about it, because that's my story. There's a couple of different twists to it, of course. There always are. For one thing, it happened to me. Now I keep away from people. I keep away from cities and buildings. Buildings with the cells they call rooms and the doors that don't always open. I never button my collar. You'll find out why. I earn my living as a guide for hunting parties. Me, who couldn't find my way across a city park. I never sleep indoors. And I can't stand clocks. Most of all, I can't stand clocks. It happened so fast. I told them it wasn't murder. It was self-defense. Involuntary self-defense, like putting up your arm to protect yourself. But it didn't work out that way in court. That's the other different twist I told you about. They convicted me. They sentenced me to be hanged. And they hanged me. I was night man. My job wasn't hard, and to me, interesting. Sell a little gas, do the rough strip down for some repairs that had to be done the next day, take care of any transient overnight parking. Then this girl started dropping in for gas every other night or so, late. I liked her style, but I was too shy to say anything, and I guess she figured it. She'd sit with a sort of a little smile, half turned in her seat, and watch me while I filled the tank. Then she'd pay me and pull away with a funny look in her eyes, like she was getting a kick out of the way I acted. Then one night, instead of pulling away when she paid me, she spoke.
Oh, come on, open up.
Huh?
Say something. I've been here 20 times. You can say a word or two, can't you? You know, hello, it's a nice night, or it ain't, or...
Oh, well, I didn't know that you wanted me to.
You're a funny fella. I didn't look like I didn't want you to, did I? Or don't I know my looks anymore?
Oh, sure. Oh, I just... Well, can I get your windshield here?
Tell me, did I hear somebody call you Hank the other night?
I guess you did. My name's Henry. Henry Guilford.
Did your girl call you Hank? Haven't you got a girl?
No steady girl. Is that what you mean?
I don't mean anything. Anyway, what would you be doing with a steady girl working here every night?
Oh, I get one night off. Go to a dance or something.
Oh, you get a night off.
Oh, sure. Hey, say, you like to dance?
I have danced.
Well, I'm off tomorrow night. You ever go to the Arcadia? They got a good band there. Forget who it is this week.
I'm sorry. Tomorrow night isn't my night off.
Oh.
But I get off at midnight, though.
Well, gee, the Arcadia closes at midnight. All the big dance places close at midnight.
Well, we don't have to have a big place, do we?
Well, no. No. There's the Owl Inn out on Trapscott Avenue. They run late. Have a pretty good little band and booths and everything.
That'll be fine.
I'll pick you up at your job.
No, I'm way at the other end of town. I have to drive my car back anyway. Suppose I meet you at the Owl. I'll be there a little after midnight.
I'll be there.
Okay. Okay, I'll see you.
Yeah, see you. Oh, say, hey, what's your name?
Tomorrow night. Bye.
Well, that next night, around 11:30, I caught the trolley going out along Trapscott Avenue. The motorman was old Steve Hoffman. He'd known me since I was a kid. And he ribbed me about my new gray suit, and especially about wanting to get off at the Owl Inn. Said I was stepping out in fast company. Well, we got there in about 20 minutes, and I started up the driveway, kind of thrilled at the idea of a midnight date. I was just starting up the steps to the inn when I heard voices coming from a grove of trees to one side. Seemed to be a quarrel, so I instinctively glanced that way and saw a man and a girl talking. The girl was my girl. She was saying something.
Nobody, I tell you.
Don't give me that stuff. I followed you all the way out here. Who are you meeting?
Nobody.
Who are you meeting?
Oh, Joe, I told you nobody.
Don't lie to me. Who are you meeting? Hey, come back here.
Hey, what is this?
Get out of my way, will
Well,
you?
but look, this is...
What's you, Hank?
Look, here, I'll help you up. I'm sorry I got in your way, but I...
There. So this is the guy, huh? Swell.
Hey, now
You
what's
wanna
going
meet
on?
anybody, huh?
Hey.
All right.
What did you hit him for? Joe's got
All right,
nothing to
get
do
up.
with you. Get up, Hank, and run. This guy is just crazy.
Crazy? Well, go call somebody. Now, wait a minute, fella. Look, I don't know what this is.
Oh, Hank, will you
Listen.
get out of here? Run.
You want more, huh? Well, I got it right here for you.
Hank, it's a blackjack. Will you run, please?
No, wait a minute. No, listen, fella, you're drunk. Here, put that away. Now somebody's going to get... Let go. Let go of that.
You don't grab
Let
this.
go.
You got him. You got him, Hank. Hit him. Hit him again. Hit him. Hit him.
I did it, I guess. Hey, who is he?
Oh, he would have done worse to you. We used to go together.
Oh, I didn't know you had a steady fella. I thought we made our date.
You didn't ask me. Besides, we were breaking up. He had no right to interfere.
Well, what do we do now? I mean, about him.
You better go. I'll take care of him.
No. You mean leave him here with you?
Please
He's
go,
lovely.
will you? There'll be more trouble if you two of you... Go ahead, will you, Hank?
Well-
I'm going to leave right away, too. He'll be all right, honest.
Well, okay, I guess.
He'll be all right. Joe. Joe?
But he wasn't all right. He was dead. I knew about it hardly 2 hours later. She didn't come and tell me. The police came and got me. And they didn't learn about me from her either. They didn't know anything about her, and they acted like they didn't want to know.
Sometimes you punks aren't as smart as you think you are.
I wasn't trying to cover up, I tell you. I wasn't.
All right. Why did you walk home? You rode out there on a trolley. Why didn't you ride back?
I just wanted to think, that's all.
Sure. Of course, you weren't thinking about how maybe the motorman wouldn't remember taking you out there if you didn't ride back.
No, why would I do that? I've known old Steve Hoffman all my life. That how you found out?
I told you, you aren't as smart as you think you are.
I'm not trying to be smart.
Okay. So you hit him in self-defense and to save the girl. Right? Now, what's her name?
Her name? Gee, I never got it. She never told me.
You mean you had a date with a girl and you didn't even know what her name was?
Well, yeah. Well, I asked her. I seen her often. Well, she didn't tell me.
Are you sure there was a girl?
Of course. Now, who did I have a date with?
Maybe just with the guy you killed.
I never met him before. I don't even know him.
You just don't know anything, do you? Well, I'll ask you a very simple question. I'm sure you can answer this one.
I'll try.
How much money did you take off the man you murdered?
How much money?
Yeah, how much? Where is it? His pockets were turned inside out. You went from self-defense to help yourself.
They pushed me around some after that. They'd take me to court and then back to my cell. Half the time I didn't know what was going on. They gave me a lawyer, Mr. Hall, Bailey Hall. He'd do the talking. He kept asking for things like reduced bail, time for further investigation, continuances to find witnesses. Just sort of stalling all the time. I don't know why. I told him I didn't have any money for any bail. And witnesses. There was only one I wanted, that girl. But he kept on, always trying to hold up things. And one day he told me I'd been indicted. I knew what that meant, all right. Then I had to go on trial for murder.
That's bad, boy. I've done all I could to delay indictment and trial and hope that something would turn up, but worrying for it now. I wish you could give me something more to work on.
What do you mean?
Well, this girl you can't even name. I can't go into court with just that. The police feel certain there never was a girl. There's no trace of her anywhere.
Well, maybe she'll show up.
Show up? My boy, you've got a lot to learn. I'd hate to bet my case on a hope like that.
That's all I got.
Whole case smells. A man is killed and his pocket's emptied. You admit hitting him. You talk about a girl who saw you hit in self-defense. You don't know her name. She doesn't show up. The police can't find her. It's a great case for the state.
Mr. Hall, that's all I know. I can't help it.
Why, George, if you'd never mentioned the girl and just claimed self-defense or a fight, I'd like it 10 times better. It's a girl thing that's so bad. It makes your whole defense phony. Good Lord, boy, if you made up a girl, why didn't you make up a name?
I've been all through that with the police. If you're going to talk that way, too, maybe we better forget the whole thing. Maybe you'll give me another attorney. You're none for all I care.
Easy, boy. Sorry I piped off. It isn't a new attorney you need. It's a new story. Well, I'll do my best.
Yeah, that's right. Guilford rode out to the inn that night in my trolley on my run.
Speak louder, please.
Yeah, that's right. Guilford rode out to the inn that night in my trolley on my run.
Face the jury, please, and talk louder.
Oh, louder. Oh.
Yeah.
I said I took Guilford to the inn that night. It was about 12:10. That's 10 after midnight, you know. Card talk. That's the way we talk around the barn. He got out and started for the inn.
Yes, well, just a minute. Did you notice anyone else around? Any girl, for instance?
Girl? No. Nobody else. Just my friend Fatty Cushion, that's all.
That'll be all.
We play pinochle together.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hmm?
Defense may have the witness.
As soon as we started to talk to Guilford, he confessed to striking the blows. He talked about doing it in self-defense and about a girl he had a date with a witness to fight.
Yeah. Well, now, Lieutenant, has your department been able to trace this girl whose existence is claimed by the defendant?
No.
No trace of her at all?
No, sir. No trace of her at all.
Beyond the shadow of any reasonable doubt. Now then, we come to the actual evidence, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. But where do we get the evidence? From the witnesses. And who is the state's principal witness? None other than the defendant himself, Henry Guilford. But the defendant can prove his story as a witness. The girl who saw it all. The girl he saved from a bad beating. Would any girl be so heartless as to leave such a benefactor in the lurch when just a word would save him? Why doesn't she appear? Why isn't she found? But no trace of her. Not even a small-sized note. In other words, she is behaving exactly as you would expect of someone who is not real, but just the figment of a desperate man's imagination.
The defendant will rise. Gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
What is your verdict?
We, the jury, find the defendant, Henry Guilford, guilty as charged of murder in the first degree.
Henry Guilford, you have...
Yes, sir. It was crazy. Sometimes I thought it must be just a crazy nightmare. Like when you're going to wake up and everything's going to be all right. I was innocent. And they were going to hang me for murder. Because they couldn't find a girl. One girl who knew I hadn't done it. And you imagine how that feels? My boss at the garage and the fellows who worked there days chipped in some money. I had an uncle in West Virginia who sent Mr. Hall $50 in cash, a promissory note for another $50, and I guess Mr. Hall put up some money himself for expenses. Anyway, he kept appealing the case all the way up to the state Supreme Court. But it didn't do any good. Kept coming back with the original decision sustained, Mr. Hall said. I asked him if he was going to take the case to the United States Supreme Court, but he said he couldn't. He had nothing to justify a hearing. Guess he meant everything was cut and dried. All this time, the courts had kept changing the date. The date I was supposed to be hanged. Now, all of a sudden, I knew there weren't going to be any more changes. The last date set was it. How do you suppose that feels? I think I started to suffocate right then. There was something growing in my throat that wouldn't let me breathe. Evening of the next day, McGill, the deputy warden, came into my cell with a couple of guards. Told me I was moving. I knew where. It was down on the main floor, a row of only 3 cells. These were larger cells, more light, more convenience. This was the last stop. Death row. Now, there's a team of 2 guards who live right in the cell with you the last few days. It's one time a prison breaks down and shows a human touch, I guess. Or else they just want to make sure you don't go ahead and carry out the sentence on yourself. Anyway, whatever it was, I was grateful. Because now I was lonely. Way deep inside myself, I ached with loneliness and fear. I was afraid. Well, not like a man, but afraid of the way a child's afraid. I was going someplace. The last place. And I was going alone. The thing you feel most the last hours is the time. The clock. Remembering how often you wished it would hurry so you could get off work or go out of school or see your girl or go fishing. Oh, you remember 100 hours like that when 6 hours is all you got left. Outside, you know, they're watching the clock, too. Not like you are, but they're watching it. All the usual people concerned with an execution, doing the usual things. Your lawyer, the warden, governor maybe, newspapermen, guards, the executioner. I know what every one of them was doing as they watched the clock that night. They told me afterwards. Now I'll never forget it. Clocks all over the state, ticking away my life.
You know, you ought to get some sleep, Warden. It's only 5 hours away.
I know. Oh, I wish I could lose this pain in my chest for a little while. I think I'll just lie down here on the couch.
Why don't you do that, Warden?
Yeah. What time is it?
It's coming up 1 a.m. Been feeling bad all day?
Not too good. I've got this thing in my chest. I suppose it's nervous indigestion.
Could be.
Yeah. Had it a couple of weeks, as a matter of fact. Oh, I'm exhausted. This is a tough job, McGill. And every time it gets harder. Takes it out of me. What do you think of young Guilford?
Nice kid.
Yeah. Yeah, nice kid. He sounds like he's... Well, that's not up to us. It's not up to us. Well, I'll try and get some rest.
Yeah. When shall I call you, Warden?
Oh, make it an hour beforehand. 5 o'clock.
Hello. This is Bailey Hall. Yes, I'm Guilford's attorney. Look, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You're who? Well, where have you been all this time? What? Yeah, now look, you're not just some crank that's after publicity. I know. It's for 6 o'clock. Where are you? Well, wait for me. I'll be right down. We've got about 2 hours. I'll stake my reputation on it, Governor. This is the girl. At least it deserves a stay of execution.
It's true, sir. Honest, I swear it's true. I've been away. I've been in Mexico, and you just don't read the papers there. I just hadn't heard about it till tonight, but it's just as he said it was. Self-defense.
Please, sir, it's after 5 o'clock now. Can't we get...
What about the money that was taken out of the dead man's pocket?
I took it. I needed it. I didn't know he was dead. He was drunk. I had every right to the money, honest. He'd been my husband, and...
Well, very well. Richards.
Yes, Governor?
Type out a stay of execution on the Guilford case for 3 weeks. Bring it in, and I'll sign it. You can take it down.
All right. You better phone the warden to make sure, though, Governor. The boy's only got about a half hour left.
Warden's office. Yes, this is Warden Barnes. What? Well, put him on, of course. Yes, Governor. Young Guilford? Well, you don't say so. Why, that's splendid, Governor. Yes. Yes, I'll let them know right away. Yes. Oh, McGill!
Yes, Warden, What?
Harry, Jack, come in here quick.
What's the matter? Something's happened to the warden. Let me get him up on the couch. Come on. That's better.
Looks like a stroke.
Yeah, you better call the doctor, will you?
Sure. Phone's off the hook.
Oh, never mind that. Call the doctor.
Must have been the strain of this execution.
Warden.
I think he kind of liked the kid. What's the matter with his phone?
I'm afraid there's no hurry for the doctor. The warden's dead.
Dead?
Yeah. It's 5:30. I'll have to take over for the execution. Gentlemen, please. It's now 10 minutes to 6, gentlemen. In a few moments, you will be admitted to the ground floor of Blockhouse A, where the scaffold has been erected and where the execution, which you are to witness as newspapermen and members of the medical profession, will take place. You'll find rows of benches. Please take your seats quietly in any of the rows except the first, which has been reserved for members of the Medical Examining Committee. We ask you to cooperate with us in our duties and to respect the solemnity of the occasion by moving quietly and refraining from any loud conversation from the moment you enter until you leave. Thank you.
The minister was reading from the Bible when the outer cell block door clanged.
I shall not hope.
I knew it was time. They were coming for me.
Lie down in green pastures.
This was it, then.
Leadeth me.
There was a group of guards. The deputy warden was with them. They opened my cell door. One of the guards came straight up to me. He was carrying a leather strap with a big buckle on it. I stood up. I felt him strapping my arms behind me. The minister stopped reading for a moment to say something.
Steady, my son.
We'll go now, Guilford.
I started to say something to the deputy, but he nodded his head at the men and we started to move. The two guards who'd been with me in the cell stood back. One of them reached over and let his hand fall on my shoulder for a second. I tried to say goodbye. I walked and realized I couldn't breathe very deeply, though I wanted to. Just short breaths were all I could take. The deputy turned around once and looked at me. He seemed nervous. That bothered me. I wished he wasn't so nervous. And we got to a door in the corner. Through that, and another door that was already open. I walked through, and I was in a room full of men. But my eyes went to something else. There were steps just ahead of me. Unpainted wooden steps. They led to a platform, and from above that, I saw the rope.
I'll walk up with you, my son.
Huh? What? The guard who was waiting worked fast. He moved me into position. The men in the room were below me now, looking up. There was a movement among them. One of them had fainted and his bench fell over. He landed hard. I wondered if he'd hurt himself. Then I felt something over my head. I knew the rope was being adjusted. Then another guard was in front of me. He had a hood. He lifted it and came down over my head. Somewhere inside of me a scream began, but my lips were closed, and I was just saying to myself, hurry, hurry, hurry.
Don't put any calls through here. What time? But you know better than to ring the phone now. Guilford's on the scaffold. What? Governor's messenger at the outer gate? Well, are you sure it's not? The trap is sprung. McGill! McGill, stop this apartment! Stop it! Stop it, McGill!
No, a man doesn't always die right away when he's hanged. They talk about the neck being broken and death coming instantly. No, not always. Death doesn't come for a long time. For some men, it's nearly 20 minutes. For others, it may be less, but never under 12 minutes before the heart stops. You can check on that. Me? I was only up a few seconds. They cut me down, and the doctors worked on me right on the wheel stretcher that was waiting to carry my body out. No, I didn't lose consciousness. I sometimes wish I had. I sometimes wish I had gone then instead of being brought back to remember every bit of those last hours. There was a new trial after I was on my feet again, but I don't know what was said. I was free. I saw the girl, Judy. I know her name now, and I thanked her. Neither one of us knew what to say after that, so she just went. Yes, I never sleep indoors. I never button my collar. I don't like buildings. Any building. It's got stone and steel and holds you in. I want to be out here where I can see the sky anytime I open my eyes. And I open them often. I think too much when I hear the clock. The clock.
Suspense. Produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Tonight you heard Mr. Jackie Cooper as star of The Clock and the Rope. This was the second in a limited series of 5 Friday night performances at this hour, which will present radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Jackie Cooper appeared by courtesy of United Artists. Appearing with Mr. Cooper were Kathy Lewis, John McIntyre, Elliot Lewis, Joseph Kearns, Paul McVeigh, Junius Matthews, Wally Mayer, Lester J., and Jack Crucian. Music for Suspense is under the direction of Lud Gluskin, with original music composed by Lucian Morawek.
Next Friday, same time, we will bring you one of the most remarkable studies in suspense ever to be presented in this series. Mr. Dan Duryea will be our star in The Man Who Couldn't Lose. Don't forget, next Friday, same time, listen to Suspense.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.